Okay, there's a bunch of solving equations. It doesn't tell you how to solve, right? If you pick a method, some of these things could be done more than one way. You might pick, like I think I've told you before, when I was a kid learning to do this, if we couldn't factor it easily, we just did quadratic formula, and it always worked, right? So if you're good at the quadratic formula, everything we do could be done that way. It always works. So the fact solving by factoring are this page, number 1 through 6. Remember, taking square roots is that special case that you start with something like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, but the b is 0. There is no x term, which means you can isolate the squared term, then take the square root. So that's only used for very special kinds of quadratic equations. The completing the square, we didn't do any homework on use completing the square to solve an equation. I showed some, but we didn't actually assign homework for that. What did we learn about the relationship between these two? Yeah, you derive the quadratic formula by completing the square, which means these two are essentially the same thing. Okay, which means if the quadratic formula works for any kind of quadratic equation, so does completing the square. Right? All the rest of them have their limitations. Remember that when you solve by graphing, you put the equation as a function in the calculator, and you look for where it crosses the x-axis. What if it doesn't cross the x-axis? Then the method doesn't work, right? The method doesn't always work. It only works when it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so some of these, like taking square roots, there's sometimes you get imaginary solutions, right? And that comes from the section on imaginary numbers. And quadratic formula, we did that today in the homework, right? There was some that we got real number answers. There was some we got imaginary answers. And they come from a different place. Yeah.